Okay, so I start. I don't know. Uh, it's a raw. It's unplanned. I just wanted to be honestly check the live broadcast on Substack and see how it works. Uh, One of the things that happened in the past few months, and I think that people who following cooking data have noticed it. There was a change in the amount of content I'm creating. There was a change of focus on the content I'm creating. And at some point, I feel that cooking data has arrived to the end of it. When I started it, the idea was to make something fun, something philosophical, maybe even about data. And my main goal was always to bring founders, to bring CEOs, to bring CFOs, to bring the business people who actually suffer the most out of the malfunction of the data. So dysfunction, sorry, of the data teams. And with time, what I realized was that I'm not reaching out the audience that I want. My articles, while they are very much relevant for the problems we are facing right now and what we're seeing, we're not reaching to the right direction. In the past few weeks, I also saw a huge drop actually in the amount of opens of my newsletters, and this brought me into a very big thinking. So just to give you a little bit of a background, I was supposed to start a big contract in January with a client, which got postponed due to misunderstanding of the value I give. This was for me a very big trigger to actually go and start questioning what is the value I want to bring forward, what is actually the impact I want to create in organizations. And it took me into a very deep thinking, starting by forming impact operations as a methodology. And moving from there and saying is like, okay, but it's very similar to a lot of other methodologies. What am I actually doing different? And here I reflected on actually the FTE debt that being created by data teams. So how do we liquefy basically the accumulated cost or the hidden cost, the taxes that we're all paying for having data in the organization? And I continued thinking about this process for quite a long time now. I finished my second book, 120,000 words, What Data Really Cost. And I realized that I actually didn't write it to data practitioners because I think we as practitioners, we have enough information out there, very technical, very to the details, calculations, ideas, everything is there. But founders that I talk to, CEOs, CFOs, even CPOs, don't really know how to deal with data. They see it as a technical thing. This is why in most cases, what happens is that data ending up under the CTO, and when they're moving under the CFO, sorry, they're feeling very frustrated. And looking at where we are now and how things are working, we need to shift. We need to change. We need to move to some places. And I want actually to be on this side. I don't want to teach, and don't take it as an offense. I don't want to teach data practitioners anymore. I want to actually help and coach and bring the CFOs, the CEOs, the CPOs, the business people to actually talk data, to understand the trade-offs of data, to act as on data as a portfolio. When we adding a new initiative, what does it mean to the existing ones in the portfolio? How do we actually managing this portfolio? How do we kill? How do we build? How do we make decisions that making sense? And I think this is one of the key components that cooking data cannot bring. Cooking data is a nice metaphor, is doing too much. So over the past few weeks, I realized I try to do the menu. So sending up, I don't know, once a quarter recipes that I love and tell the story about them, not relevant for data. I try to move from Wabi Sabi, your data, to impact operation, but it wasn't really successful. So Wabi Sabi basically is a philosophy, but it should be in the background. It's not the front. It's not what is representing actually what I want to bring forward. Same thing goes to Data Flavors, which is a great newsletter that actually rising a problem, do the research, shows what is going on around the universe about this problem, what others see, and try to bring a shared reality to all of us about the problem. And I'm not saying I'm killing, but I will need to reform all of this into something that is a little bit more structured. And in the last 2 weeks, if you noticed, I've released Impact Operations. This is basically based on the book. Sarah Chen, my imaginary Sarah Chen, but the real one, shared with me her notebook during our implementation process in the organization. And what I'm doing now, I'm taking actually her notes and I'm trying to translate them into reflections, peer to peer, CEO to CEO. She was not up for doing it because I understand she's a CEO of a big company and she has no time. But I still think that what she learned actually worth for all of us to learn from. So I now transferring it into a new series, and the book is planning to come in June as well, uh, and a lot of things. But at the same time, I realize I was spreading myself in too many places, too many metaphors, too many philosophies, and I don't want to do it any longer. What I want to do going forward is to start focusing on the FTE debt, on the hidden tax, on the shadow dashboards or shadow initiatives that going around the organization and actually costing the organization money. And this money is not visible to most managements. While they saying solve the data issue, what happened is we build a dashboard and then somebody just pulling it into Excel and creating something that fits what they need. This is not data. This is overhead that is being generated. And it's the tax the organization is paying because this person, instead of working on what is really matter, is working on other stuff. As I said, this is a really freestyle. I didn't practice before because I thought it's worth trying to talk directly to you and explain to you where things are going. And so cooking data in the next few days is going to change itself into impact operations. And the conversation is moving from being all over the place, trying to catch the busy business person and the data practitioner that want to see the implementation on the hands-on and make sure that random readers who are interested in data can find something relevant. It's going to change. It's not going to stay the same any longer. And this is part of a bigger learning about myself as well and where I want to position myself. I don't want to be positioned as somebody who help data teams because I think data teams have enough consultants out there. I don't want to be a consultant that comes to organization, create a report and telling everybody, hey, you are doing a shitty job. Here is how to fix it, and then leave the company and disappears. What I actually want to do is I want to be able to come and start talking more on the financial impact of data on our day-to-day activity. And now we're actually moving out of the situation where we are today. So what comes next? What actually going to happen is that we going to move into a section that basically there will be four main zones as I see it. The first one is completely focused on the executive brief. This is for CEO facing ROI content, very, very, very focused on creating the content for the executives that needs it. The second part is the decision lab. This is frameworks, methodologies. Whenever somebody wants to dig in and learn a little bit more, they will be able to do it in this environment because I want to make sure that I'm not only talking high level philosophy, but I'm also talking about things that are relevant and helping people. The third part is data breakthroughs. The podcast stays. I'm not moving it, but it's going to change a little bit more the structure. So I'm already in the middle of recording season 2. I have quite a lot of episodes and they're going to be released in, I hope, in the next few weeks. I will have finally the time to sit down and editing them, because what I was focusing on in the past 4 months was really bringing the book into life. I'm talking about this book for 5 years. And one of the things that I realized is that I keep writing it and I keep deleting it because I wasn't focused. And this crack in my understanding about impact operation, about this conversation about the financial part of data and how you're making decisions, was the big shift also in my understanding about the book and where I want to take it. So Data Breakthroughs, going to finish season 2, and then I'm going to figure out if it's still fitting or not to the executives client here that I want to aim towards. And then, of course, I'm going to still live in the 4th section. I'm going to call it the kitchen. This is all the history. I'm not deleting it. I'm not reversing it, because what I wrote was right to the moment I wrote it. But going forward, I want to be much more focused. I want to be able to actually talk the language that what I want to bring forward, and I want to start focusing on this one. So from 12 sections that we have today, we're going to move into 4 pillars, basically. And each of them basically going to create a big transformation in how what used to be cooking data going to look like going forward. So how to explain it? In the 4 that stand behind a lot of this activity was that I think that the content I created is relevant, is very, very much relevant also to the AI world that we are in today. But at the same time, I don't want to focus solely on AI. I don't want to be the practitioner that fitting with others on training the data teams to work in a better way. And what I want to focus is, and this is what you're going to see also in the subtitle of the new structure, is how we liquidating FTE debt and recovering data portfolio yield. So my belief is that every new initiatives that we're adding needs to be affected or affecting, sorry, the existing portfolio. So what are we actually removing? And creating a sunset mechanism as an active muscle, not as a side muscle that we're doing every spring. We're doing a spring cleaning of all the dashboards and all the data products that we are not using in the past 6 months. It doesn't make sense. What makes sense is that we're acting constantly and looking at our data as a portfolio of value. What is the value that it's right now producing? How do we produce it? How do we making sure that we're creating the right impact with it? And if it doesn't create or doesn't drive anymore, are we sunsetting it? Are we refining it? Because one of the things that I realized is that data is a non-linear. Meaning, while in software development, we build a feature, we release it on the front end, it's running, users clicking on it, they activating it, they using it, and so on and so on, we can track it. When it's coming to data, the philosophy is a little bit different. When I'm releasing a new recommendation model, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even maybe 2 months afterwards, the model shifts, is no longer relevant because the user's behavior has changed. And if I'm not constantly updating it, it's causing issues. The same thing goes with an ROI calculation. At the beginning, it's going to be very accurate, but I will need to keep maintaining it on a weekly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, to be able to actually make sure that I'm giving the best data available and reflecting it in a real life environment. Meaning that when I'm releasing a product, I need to keep maintaining it. One of the things that I need to think about is how do I maintain it going forward, and making sure that the trust in it is not broken, as well as that the activity of the people is not being damaged. So they need to go now to Excel, or they need to go to other systems and try to figure out how they doing things. And this is the direction we're going to go into. So it's more about talking about these portfolio management systems. It's more about sunsetting as a muscle. It's more about talking about, we are not talking anymore about cooking data. We're talking about a financial asset inside the organization that deserves to sit together with the marketing department, together with the product, because it's actually generating value. And this is what I believe the AI revolution actually bring forward more heavy. If in the past we said the data team can be just an enablement arm, we cannot say it anymore. From now on, the data team needs to be an impact arm. It needs to be out there, going and automating and cutting the time of the marketing department, cutting down the time of the product department, the finance department, in working with data. And then also go to the user and see how they can automate and improve their process, because this is the real asset the organization have. This is the IP that's going to take us forward. And this is also the change in trends that I see right now, also from investors' conversations. They're no longer asking the companies to just show that they have data. It's actually how this data is creating an impact in your day-to-day work. And a lot of these companies that I'm talking to today don't have it. And while in the past 3 months, it was a very dry month for me as a consultant, because the big shift, I wasn't sure what I'm selling. And I saw my sales pitches were unfocused, and I lost a lot of possible leads. It actually caused me to think about the value that I'm giving and how I'm going forward. So I see you soon. Cooking data is going to be sunsetted. It's going to move into the kitchen. And going forward, I am much more focused on this FTE depth that we're creating inside the data team and outside of the data team, and how we're actually saving it to make sure that we're becoming not only efficient, but also creating the right impact going forward. And I will see you around. Ciao, ciao.